Good morning, everyone. I've been told by several people I have to be funnier than Richard. It's a non-existent barrier, but yeah, see? I already passed it. So I'll try, no promises. Dr. Macheka's way funnier than I am. So I want to talk about things we're doing well, then I want to talk about an opportunity we have, and then Richard asked me to talk a little bit about the coronavirus. Kind of perfect timing. My parents came out, they flew into LAX. There was no one there, probably the best experience you've ever had at LAX. So we want to first talk about education. I'm an educator, I'm an academic, and education is the escape from poverty. We all know that. And educational inequalities or inequities can actually lead to lifelong differences in health, socioeconomics, wellness, a lot of things. And we know that even completing some college, not graduating, some college is beneficial. I wish I could talk a little bit more about vocational training too. Vocations are incredibly important. They don't collect data on that for some reason. I've had talks with the census, they just don't listen to me. Oh, the arrow button I have to press. So we want to talk first about education by race in Kern County. And we know that there are tremendous interracial differences in educational outcomes, which can help to explain gaps in income, poverty, health, wellness, and other measures that differ by racial group. So if we look, here's just kind of a table of high school graduation rates, college graduation rates across 3 of the major ethnic groups. We note that white high school graduation rates are 10.5% higher than blacks, 57% for Hispanics, but the noticeable difference is in the college graduation rates. White graduation rates are nearly double blacks and about 4 times Hispanics. That's tremendously bad. And if you notice, the black college graduation rate has fallen in Kern County since 2015. So yeah, some of the changes in numbers could be migration, young graduates moving to other areas, trying to earn wages, living there. So how well is our educational system helping graduates, especially minority graduates, succeed? And this is a big initiative in the Cal State system right now, so we want to see what's happening. So just some numbers before I throw up some pretty pictures that I made. In 2018, whites have 70% higher wages than blacks, but almost double the college graduation rate. In 2018, whites have 48% higher wages than Hispanics, but almost quadruple the college graduation rate. So these are very large differences, but the differences can largely be explained by differences in education. That's something solvable. That's something that we can change. I forecasted by 2025, whites have 50% higher wages than blacks, 41% higher wages than Hispanics. Convergence. It's closing a little bit. So education is equalizing the differences, and education does help create a more level playing field. So if we look, pretty picture, it took me like 3 months to make this. Dead serious, I don't know how to do this stuff. So if you look, we have data for 2018, then we forecast. Notice the top line, the blue line, are wages, the median wages for whites, and they are converging for other ethnic groups. So we're seeing some catch-up. We're seeing education finally having an impact. We just need to make sure that recent gains don't plateau, as our forecasts could suggest. All right, so we see that education is important, so let's take a closer look at education. Access to education is vital, but let's focus on the return on investment from these degrees. And so, return on investment, it's based on benefits, the wages you get, and the costs, how much tuition you pay. So here is the return on investment from an associate's degree in both Fresno and Kern. Notice, we're better than Fresno. So it's all that matters. Yep, good on us. So there has been a slight decline in the return on investment from an associate's degree in Kern County. Okay, that sounds bad. We don't want that. We want returns increasing. What can explain it? It's a supply-side shock. Perhaps associate degree holders are moving on to get a four-year college degree. They don't show up in the four-year college degree data. So if we actually see that, what can we forecast? We can forecast that the return on investment for an associate's degree in Kern County is going to increase. It's close to a 14% rate of return. That's phenomenal. Try to find an asset that gives you 14%. So why have we seen a slowdown in the Kern rate of return, the rate of investment? We've created easier pathways to go from any two-year college to a four-year university. That's something that California has done a tremendous job of. So a lot of the benefits from two-year colleges, we have a number of phenomenal ones in this county, they show up in bachelor's degrees rate of returns, because those individuals go on, get a degree in nursing, get a degree in ag business, finance. Well, let's look at four-year college graduation rate of returns. Again, it's increasing over time, and recently the rate of return for Kern County is now higher than Fresno. So again, we're beating them. So what does it mean? We have a need for a highly skilled workforce with the economic development occurring. See all of the development occurring just north of the airport. I think that's north. Somewhere around the airport. We'll do that. And over time, what happens? The gap widens. We actually start seeing a lot more opportunities for college-educated graduates in Kern County. There's a demand for a skilled workforce. It's coupled with a relative lack of a current educated workforce. That's a California and US issue as well. But it's also coupled with education initiatives. So we are seeing massive increases in the returns we can get from education. So why education? Well, in 2018, compared to a high school dropout, a high school grad will earn about 51% more. That's a lot of money. In 2018, compared to a high school grad, any college, just any college, including an associate's degree, will earn 11% more. A BA will earn double. Over the course of a lifetime, if you get a four-year degree, you're going to earn about $1.5 million more. That's a tremendous incentive, and that's something we should focus on. That's an opportunity we have. Creating easier pathways to go from high school to a two-year college to a four-year college will only provide benefits. And so again, if we look, here are incomes for associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees in Kern and in Fresno. And again, we see that regardless of the degree, 2 or 4 year, we're better than Fresno. Picked Fresno for a reason. We're always better. And if we forecast, so we notice that associate's degree returns don't differ from Fresno, but largely because they're transferring. We have acceptance into CSUB and other CSUs for community college graduates. And look at the massive benefit we are going to see if you graduate with a 4-year degree in Kern County. You're going to be earning close to $70,000 a year starting. That's your starting salary. For a 22-year-old, $70,000 is a lot of money. $30,000 was a lot of money to me when I started. So I can only imagine getting double that. And so part of the educational disparity, so here we look at wages for high school dropouts and high school grads, both again in Kern and in Fresno. So part of the educational disparity we see here in Kern County is because people who are high school graduates, high school dropouts, can still earn a living wage. And that's something we also do tremendously. That's something we need to highlight. If we have vocations, welders, I heard a story, my friend knows a welder who makes $1,500 a day. That's unheard of. I would love that. So we see that we can earn a lot in this county. There are opportunities for us. Unfortunately, we do expect the wage gap between a high school degree and being a high school dropout to widen, which means we need to do a good job incentivizing education, both vocation and traditional. And so that's something we're doing good. Then I had to pick something to make Richard Chapman cringe. Last year was opioids. This is CBD, because you can't go to any store without seeing a bright colored flag fluttering in the wind that says CBD. And it's touted as this wonder supplement that cures all ailments. There is some evidence that it is effective for pain management. Beyond those, it's pretty much anecdotal evidence at best for the effectiveness of CBD. People will say it cures everything. It's probably going to cure the coronavirus in the next few weeks, but I don't believe it. So why do we want to talk about it? So we know that there are a number of substances that can or are used for current pain management. Alcohol, opioids, anti-inflammatories, Tylenol, those sorts of things. Marijuana, CBD, other illicit drugs. And we know that this is an epidemic. The CDC has called the opioid epidemic the most impactful drug epidemic in the history of the United States. Between 2015 and 2018, the costs of it are $3 trillion. That's from the CDC. That's a lot of money. That's like a fifth of GDP. So why CBD? So it can be made from marijuana or hemp. So the farm bills of 2014 and 2018 allow hemp to be grown for limited purposes, very limited purposes. And hemp has lower natural levels of THC, which is the stuff that gives you that good feeling. So CBD typically does not have enough psychoactive substances to give you that natural high, which is good. We don't want to replace one ingredient that alters your mood with another one. Can smart CBD regulation allow us to combat the opioid epidemic using a product that is becoming more widely available, but that does not cause the same psychoactive feeling? So, Dr. Macheka and I have investigated the legalization of CBD by state, and we want to see if it is having an impact. So if you look, most states in the United States have legalized either marijuana or CBD. So most states, the blue states, have legalized CBD in some form or fashion. Compared to states with no CBD laws, those that do have CBD laws have 4 fewer opioids prescribed per 100 population. That doesn't seem big until you look at the entire population. That's 36,000 fewer prescriptions annually. It's an impact. It's something we have to consider. But a lot of states have highly restrictive ID laws that limit how much you can buy, when you can get it. So restrictive laws to obtain CBD eliminate almost any beneficial impact. So we have to be careful about the type of laws that we go through. In certain states, mainly in the Deep South, Alabama is one, CBD is allowed to be purchased only if you've been diagnosed with an illness where you need active pain management. The biggest one is epilepsy. So if you're an epileptic in Alabama, you are allowed to purchase CBD for pain management rather than using opioids for your migraines. For the most part, there's really no impact of CBD legalization on opioid overdoses. There's really no way to cure that. The reason why is that the people who are overdosing on opioids tend to be those who abuse it. And you're abusing it not because you feel bad, but you like the feeling. You don't get CBD for the feeling. So what can we do? Smart regulation is needed. We need to regulate the over-the-counter market. You can go to gas stations or corner stores and buy these products, and the quality of these products may be suspect. Some independent testing has suggested that gas station CBD is cut with other substances, namely heroin or fentanyl. Yeah, that's not good. We don't like that. But for legitimate shops, the ones where they source the products, the CBD specialty shops, there are 2 that have opened up near my house. We need to make ID policies there, but minimally invasive. We need to encourage research into CBD from hemp or low THC marijuana, and we need to create an open dialogue about both the benefits and the costs of this. We can't forget that even though it's touted as this wonder supplement, we don't know the long-term effects, and that's what's scary. So the coronavirus. Always wash your damn hands. You don't need an epidemic to wash your hands. I still have 3 more minutes to get more applause. My dad said, and the males in the room can relate, when he was going through the airport, he never noticed so many men washing their hands after using the restroom. Don't pick your nose. The funniest viral video is the CDC lady who's saying, hey, don't touch your face, and is just sitting there like wiping herself, licking her finger. Not good. If your kid is coughing, leave him at home. Just common sense things. So I was trying to think about what I could talk about with coronavirus that's impactful. This is speculative, could happen, may not. We know that China imports a lot of rice, wheat, tree nuts, soybeans, fresh fruits, veggies, and pork. So food staples. Unfortunately, because of the retaliatory tariffs, the trade war, much of the drop in Chinese imports of U.S. ag products have been substituted from elsewhere. But we want to see what could be the impact of the coronavirus, like a worst case scenario. Well, what could happen is there's potential to miss much of the early planting season in China. There's limits on movement in rural areas. So with food staples, the rice, wheat, and the beef, this could be devastating in areas where subsistence living is high. That's most of rural China. They're also culling the livestock. So there are potential famine issues. So we see a potential, at least temporarily, for increases in imports of food staples, the rice, the wheat, the beef. A reduction of imports in food luxuries, the tree nuts, the fresh fruits, the veggies. They're not really luxuries, but when you don't have enough food, these are things that you might consider switching. In the longer term, one of the potential benefits of the coronavirus is a reduction of how much of the supply chain is kept in China. That's going to be the biggest benefit. That's probably going to cause prices to increase temporarily as you move the supply chains elsewhere. But one of the biggest beneficiaries might be India. Similar demographics, but much more friendly to our economy. This could dramatically slow Chinese economic growth. It's a potential, not going to happen necessarily, but a potential for a Chinese lost decade, like Japan saw. Japan was going to be the booming economy in the early to mid-90s, and now Japan is a very nice place to visit, but it's no longer the center of sustained economic activity. So are there any potential benefits to Kern County? In Kern County, we produce in all of California, 20% of almonds, 17% of blueberries, 50% of table grapes, 34% of pistachios, 12% of sweet cherries, 31% of mandarins, tangerines, 7% of the wheat, no rice. So we have to be careful. There is a potential that lowered Chinese economic growth could depress the consumption of fruits and tree nuts in China, meaning alternative markets need to be found for these products. But that's a good thing. Less subject to trade wars, less subject to arbitrary actions on the part of one country. So thank you. Wash your hands.